Good evening and welcome to the Surry County portion of the Surry-Davie-Yadkin Regional CTP Public Engagement Session. A couple of housekeeping items before we begin this evening. This presentation and all associated materials will be available for a minimum of 30 days. So if you're watching this recording online, please feel free to participate just as if you were watching it live. Everything will remain in effect for a minimum of 30 days. First, please sign in using the chat bubble icon on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Your first name is sufficient for that. If at any point during the presentation you have a question or a comment, you can email those to me at cspradling@ptrc.org. Also, questions and comments may be submitted during this live session using the GoToMeeting chat function, which we'll be checking throughout the presentation. To answer some real-time polling questions about tonight's presentation, please visit the web address listed in bullet point D. Again, if you're watching this presentation, you'll be able to participate in the poll. For those of you that are actually on the call, I'm going to paste that web address into the GoToMeeting chat function for easier access. Okay, that's there for you to click on if you'd like to participate in the polling data there. Copies of all the materials can be found on the Northwest Piedmont Rural Planning Organization's webpage, which is listed in bullet point E. You can also Google Northwest Piedmont Rural Planning Organization, and that will pull everything up. Our presentations this evening are pre-recorded, so questions and comments will be addressed at the end of the presentations. Tonight we'll hear from Mr. Michael Abuya and Mr. Reuben Crummy, both of whom are transportation engineers with the Transportation Planning Division of the North Carolina Department of Transportation. My name is Carter Spradling, and I'm the director of the Northwest Piedmont Rural Planning Organization. Mr. Abuya will start out by giving us a brief introduction about what a CTP is, followed by plans for highway and public transit presentations. Afterwards, we'll hear from Mr. Reuben Crummy, who will give his presentation on bicycle and pedestrian portions of the CTP. After a brief pause, the next voice you'll hear is from Mr. Michael Abuya.
Welcome to today's public workshop. The virtual workshop is going to focus on Surry County as part of a regional CTP study that includes Davie and Yadkin counties. Discussion topics. Today's discussions are going to include a brief overview of what is a CTP, why do we need a CTP, where are we now in the CTP study process, and what are we going to do next after today's virtual public workshop. We are also going to include study analysis and results that will touch on traffic, safety, and public survey results. Finally, we will present recommendations. The recommendations are going to include highway mode of transportation, transit rail, bicycle, and pedestrian modes. What is a CTP? In short, it is a comprehensive transportation plan, a long-range plan that extends to 2045. 25 years from today. It is multimodal because it covers various types of modes of transportation: roadways, bicycles, pedestrian, and transit. It is data-driven. It is derived from local plans and also observes statewide goals. Locally driven by a steering committee, which includes county managers, commissioners, town managers, planners, NCDOT personnel, and also RPO planners. It is important to note that CTP recommendations are concepts, and any improvement will go through a rigorous environmental process before final alignments or designs can be determined. Why do we need a CTP? Because it's required by a state law, 136-66.2. CTP determines alternatives to address needs, transportation needs within a community. CTP is the first step in putting together a transportation project. It is a common long-range vision for facilities between NCDOT, MPOs, RPOs, and local governments. It is a better integration of land use with transportation planning. We developed the vision for the CTP. We performed system assessment. We identified needs and analyzed alternative solutions to those needs. And today, we are sharing with you the identified needs and the recommended solutions. What we are going to do next is to develop the final plan, then seek mutual agreement on the draft, complete the plan, and then adopt the plan, starting with local adoption, ending with NCDOT Board of Transportation adopting the final plan. This map on the screen shows the extent and boundaries of the study. This is a regional CTP that covers 3 counties, Airy, Surry, and Yadkin. We are conducting 3 workshops. That for Davie was done yesterday. The workshop for Surry County is being done today. And then that for Yadkin County will be done tomorrow. Existing traffic analysis, 2017. Historical traffic volumes data from 2002 to 2017 were collected and analyzed. Then 2017 base year volumes were developed. The daily traffic volumes were then compared to daily traffic carrying capacity of a roadway segment. And then congestion or capacity deficiencies were determined. This legend at the bottom right corner helps explain this map. We can see that the 2017 volumes are shown at the top, and then the capacity are shown below that. Those 2 numbers are then compared. If the ratio is 79% or less, then that segment of roadway is considered to be under capacity. If that ratio is between 80% to 99%, then that segment of the roadway is indicated to be approaching capacity by that blue line. If that ratio is 100% and above, then the roadway is categorized as overcapacity. In the Mount Airy region, the following roadways were identified to be near or over capacity in 2017. US 601 from Smith Road to I-74 and from Forest Drive to US 52. NC 89 from Antioch to West End Drive. US 52 Business from NC 89 to Arlington Street. NC 103 from South Street to NC 104. Franklin Street from Old Toast Road to Piper's Gap Road. In Elkin, segments of US 21 Business through town were identified to be near capacity. From Yadkin County to Market Street and from NC 268 to Church Street. Those 2 segments were identified to be near capacity in 2017. In the town of Pilot Mountain, NC 268 from US 52 to Main Street was identified to be approaching capacity in 2017. Projected traffic analysis to 2045. Again, as shown in this legend at the bottom right corner, 2045 volumes are shown at the top. Roadway capacity as it is today is shown at the bottom. And then the two values are compared to determine whether roadway is under capacity, near capacity, or over capacity. In the future, we see that I-77 start to be approaching capacity from Yadkin County to US 21 and from NC 268 to Sapphire Road and from US 74 to Virginia State Line. I-77 will be approaching capacity by 2045. In the next few slides, we are going to zoom in to take a closer look at the area surrounding Mount Airy, Pilot Mountain, Dobson, and Elkin. In the Mount Airy region, US 601 and NC 89 continue to be near or over capacity by 2045. US 52 Business, NC 103, NC 104 from NC 89 to Linville Road, Main Street from US 52 Business to Springs Road, Franklin Street from Old Toast Road to Piper's Gap Road will be approaching capacity by 2045. In Elkin, those two segments of US 21 Business through town will still continue to approach capacity by 2045. From Yadkin County to Market Street and from NC 268 to Church Street. In Pilot Mountain, NC 268 continues to be near or over capacity by 2045. From South to Main Street. US 601 near Dobson. From Old Highway 601 to Interstate 74 will be approaching capacity or over capacity by 2045. And then within Dobson Town, East Atkins Street from the middle of town, US 601 Business to US 601 will be approaching capacity in the future year. For safety analysis, we analyzed the crash data from 2012 to 2016, covering a 4-year period. The symbology on the bottom right corner indicates the size and the number of crashes in a given location. Some of the locations that registered 20 crashes or more are the following: US 21 and NC 68, I-74 and US 601, Oak Grove Road and Johnson Ridge, US 601 and Edgewood Drive, I-77 and NC 89, 601 Corridor, and US 52 Business Corridor. Community input through public survey was also looked at. In response to safety concerns, these are some of the locations that were identified: US 601 and 52 intersection in Mount Airy, US 601 corridor near Dobson, I-77 corridor near Jonesville, Elkin Towns, and also within along US 21 business within Jonesville, Elkin. In response to the question regarding traffic problems, US 601 corridor, I-77 corridor, US 21 business corridor, and NC 89 corridor are some of the locations that were identified to be having traffic problems. In response to public transit needs, comments came from Pilot Mountain, Mount Airy, Dobson, as well as Elkin. The majority of comments came from Mount Airy and Dobson. Here is a sample comment. The need for transit from Mount Airy to Community College is important. Recommendations. The next few slides are going to cover recommendations made in response to the identified needs in this study. Key priorities guiding the recommendations are the following: enhancing safety, resolving deficiencies, minimizing congestion, and increasing mobility. Red lines represent recommendations made in response to capacity deficiencies or congestion, and the light blue lines represent recommendations made for modernizations. Segments of I-77 from Yadkin County to US 21, from NC 268 to Sapphire Road, and from I-74 to Virginia State Line are projected to be over capacity by 2045. The recommendation is to widen those segments to 3 lanes in each direction. US 601 in Mount Airy, from Forest Drive to US 52 is a 5-lane major thoroughfare. It is projected to be over capacity by 2045. The recommendation: widen or improve access management. Currently, there is a TIP project or Transportation Improvement Project R5714 that proposes to upgrade the roadway from Forest Drive to US 52. NC89 west of Mount Airy, from Untitled Avenue to West End Drive, is a 2 to 5 lane major thoroughfare, also projected to be near or over capacity by 2045. Recommendation: widen or improve access management. There is also a TIP project, R5905, which proposes to modernize roadway from Toast Road to Pine Ridge Road and also improve intersection at Pine Ridge intersection. Still in Mount Airy, NC 104 from Independence Boulevard to Linville Road, and NC 103 from South Street to NC 104. The segment of these 2 facilities are projected to be near capacity by 2045. Recommendation: widen or improve access management at critical intersections. North Main Street from US 52 Business to Skyview Lane, Franklin Road from Forest Road to Pipers Gap Road. There are segments of these 2 facilities that are projected to be near capacity by 2045. Recommendation: widen to 3 lanes and or improve access management at critical intersections. In Elkin, the 2 segments of US 21 Business, from NC 268 to Church Street, and from Yadkin County to NC 268. These 2 segments of US 21 Business are approaching capacity in 2045. The recommendation: improve access management. But this recommendation is not final. The steering committee will continue to look into alternative solutions for the problems that are expected in this corridor. US 601, from just south of Dobson to Interstate 74, is a 2-lane major thoroughfare and is projected to be near or over capacity by 2045. Recommendation: widen or improve access management. Also, there is a TIP project. The proposal in that project is to widen this segment of 601 from 2 to 4 lanes from Cody Trail to Interstate 74. East Aspins from the middle of Dobson to US 601 is a 3-lane major thoroughfare and also projected to be near capacity by 2045. Recommendation: improve access management at critical intersection. These segments of NC 268 in Pilot Mountain from Souls Road to Main Street is a 2 to 3 lane major thoroughfare and is also projected to be near or over capacity by 2045. Recommendation: widen or improve access management at critical intersections. The rest of the recommendations, as represented by the light blue lines, are modernizations. The proposal is to widen those segments that are 11 feet or less to 12 feet wide lanes with paved shoulders. The paved shoulders will help with mobility, will help with safety, and will also may help with those who ride their bikes on these facilities. Highway facility type. Now, this is a projection of the entire highway system, classified by facility types. It sets control of access vision for all future corridors. It also helps make better land use decisions along state-maintained roadways. This legend at the bottom right corner helps to explain the map, starting with freeways and ending with minor thoroughfares. Transit recommendations. A bus route is recommended along US 52 corridor between Pilot Mountain and Mount Airy, and between Mount Airy and Dobson along US 601 corridor, from Mount Airy to Interstate 77 through Sapphire Road, and then from there along I-77 corridor down to Elk and Jonesville towns. There are also park and ride lots in Pilot Mountain as well as Mount Airy. That ends this segment of the presentation. Next is bicycle and pedestrian recommendations by Ruben Crummy. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to take about a 1 to 2 minute little break while I get the next presentation set up. So hang tight and we'll get started back here in just a second.
Hi, I am Ruben Crummy with the North Carolina Department of Transportation's Transportation Planning Division. We will continue onward with the draft bicycle and pedestrian element of the Surry County portion of the Davie, Surry, and Yadkin Regional CTP. The featured topics in this presentation will be a brief overview of bike and ped plans, the draft bike and ped CTPs, the project lists, additional projects, and then questions and or comments. Introduction and overview. The North Carolina Department of Transportation provides an annual program called the Bicycle and Pedestrian Planning Grant Initiative, which allocates funding for municipalities across the state that apply for the grant and are selected in developing the requested comprehensive bicycle plans, pedestrian plans, or both plans. All North Carolina municipalities are eligible to apply. This program is sponsored by the department's Integrated Mobility Division, formerly the Division of Bicycle and Pedestrian Transportation, and the Transportation Planning Division, also known as TPD. Since 2004, approximately $6.5 million has been awarded through this program to 211 municipalities in 6 counties across the state. Recommendations. Full map of the regional CTP. There are 2 state bike routes that go through the planning area. NC bike route number 2, called Mountains to the Sea, traveling through Surry County, and NC bike route number 4, called North Line Trace, which travels through Yadkin and Davie counties. In the legend, you will see that the blue lines represent the adopted CTP designations. The light green represents both the adopted CTP and the draft Yadkin Valley Regional Bicycle Plan. The orange lines represent the draft Yadkin Valley Regional Bicycle Plan, and the darker green represents the multi-use path designation. Here is a better showing of bike route number 2, which starts in the mountain town of Murphy, traveling through the small towns of Footville and Courtney, which are in the planning area, which is also in Yadkin County, and finishes in the coastal town of Montiel and is over 700 miles long. As you can see, NC bike route number 4 starts in Piney Creek, traveling through Pilot Mountain, Ararat, Blackwater, Dobson, which are towns in Surry County, and Salem York, and finishes in the McKay Island National Wildlife Refuge, and it is about 400 miles long. Today, we will be featuring the existing and proposed bicycle recommendations for Surry County. These proposals are referenced from the 2004 Surry County Scenic Bikeway Plan, the 2005 Surry County Greenway Master Plan, the 2007 Elkin Greenway Master Plan, the 2014 Elkin Recreation and Parks Plan, the 2012 Towns of Elkin and Jonesville CTP, the 2012 Surry County CTP, and the draft Yadkin Valley Regional Bicycle Plan. Recommendations from the previous slide are shown in the inset towns of Mount Airy, Pilot Mountain, Dobson, and Elkin. The town of Mount Airy features the 2012 Surry County CTP bicycle recommendations and the draft Yadkin Valley Regional Bicycle Plan. The town of Pilot Mountain features the 2012 Surry County CTP bicycle recommendations and the draft Yadkin Valley Regional Bicycle Plan. The proposed Surry County bicycle projects support a very large portion of the comments from the regional CTP survey. Comments and responses will be made available on the websites. During the development of the current CTP, the following facilities were identified as recommended bicycle routes and will need improvement. In accordance with the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, also known as AASHTO, the acronym AASHTO, roadways identified as bicycle routes shall incorporate the following standards as roadway improvements are made and funding is available. Curb and gutter sections require at minimum 5-foot bike lanes or 14-foot wide shoulder lanes. Shoulder sections require a minimum of 5-foot paved shoulder. All bridges along the roadways where bike facilities are recommended shall be equipped with 54-inch railings, at a minimum 42-inch. 2 bicycle projects were incorporated into the bicycle CTP map in the town of Dobson. The first projects are along East Cap Street from North White Street to Ryan Street, and then along Ryan Street from East Cap Street to East Adkins Street. The second project is along South Crutchfield Street from James Street to West Fowler Street. In the full map of the regional CTP, there are two designations shown in the legend. The blue lines represent the current adopted CTP designations. The green lines represent the multi-use path designations. The thicker lines represent the proposed projects, and the thin lines represent existing sidewalks and multi-use paths. Recommendations in Surry County are referenced from the 2012 Surry County CTP, the 2012 Elkin and Jonesville CTP, the 2013 Pilot Mountain Pedestrian Master Plan, and the 2013 Mount Airy Comprehensive Pedestrian Plan. Recommendations are referenced from the 2012 Surry County CTP in the town of Dobson and in the town of Elkin, the 2012 Surry County CTP, and the 2012 Elkin and Jonesville CTP. In Pilot Mountain, pedestrian recommendations are referenced from the 2012 Surry County CTP and the 2013 Pilot Mountain Pedestrian Master Plan. The pedestrian recommendations shown here in the town of Mount Airy are referenced from the 2012 Surry County CTP and the 2013 Mount Airy Comprehensive Pedestrian Plan. The proposed Surry County pedestrian projects support a very large portion of comments from the regional CTP survey. Comments and responses will be made available on the websites. Here is a list of the proposed Surry County pedestrian projects. The proposed Surry County pedestrian projects continued. And here are an additional list of proposed Surry County pedestrian projects. Although the bicycle and pedestrian maps for a CTP were previously separate, it was decided that the two modes of transportation are to be combined under one map, showing the relationship between them. The two maps were intentionally separated so that during the CTP process, viewers can see the differences between bicycle and pedestrian recommendations and the difference between the current CTP and the draft Yadkin Valley Regional Bicycle Plan, and also where the recommendations are the same to eliminate confusion. Once the final plan has been approved, there will be just one map. Please see the provided contact information.
Okay, so after the presentations from Michael and Ruben, it doesn't appear that we have any emailed questions, and none are entered into the chat box. However, we did have one comment that was given that says that we need more bicycle access along Route 52 so that we can get to a local greenway. Many people have to drive to the greenway to unload the bicycle and then get on the trail. I noticed that this comment was given before we got to our bicycle portion of our presentation. So I just want to ask whoever left that comment, was your concern addressed, or is that something that you'd like to expand upon? You can unmute yourself by clicking on your picture and then clicking the mic button if you'd like to speak up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Joseph Zalesic from Mount Airy. The concern I have is where Route 52 comes down in the speed limit. We're near Arlington at the yellow light. It warns the motorist that, you have to slow down. You're coming up to Mount Airy city limits. and there was actually no bike or pedestrian access along that road to get to our greenway, which is behind the big lots, and also it's near the transportation park and ride for the bus line to Winston-Salem. So my concern is that people that either want to do park and ride with their bicycle or access the greenway have no safe way to get to that parking area and that greenway. So I don't know if, the maps were really difficult to even see on the presentation, but is there anything that's planned along Route 52 from Arlington to the area of the greenway?
Ruben, can you address that?
I'm actually trying to find the where on 52 that he's speaking of in the Mount Airy area. He said Arlington.
Right, it starts at Arlington.
Okay, because I don't know the road well, the names of the roads that well. What intersection besides
All right.
Arlington? Is it in the south or the north?
Also, it's Newsom Road. It's actually where the Andy Griffith Parkway starts, even though it's
Okay,
still
I remember.
it's called Route 52.
This is okay. This is the actual pedestrian map, and you referred to the bicycle. Is this the map that you wanted to reference, or was it?
Yeah, but I really can't. I mean, it's really difficult to see from this vantage point.
Hold on one second.
Okay, because I remember on Newsom.
Right.
That might have been. If I can find it. Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, it's coming up. There it is.
Okay, that's Newsom Road, but after Rockford Road, let's see. And I don't see anything along there.
Okay.
So there may be a recommendation on the pedestrian side, but not the bicycle.
Okay.
Okay. Was there another project or question you had? You had US 52 at that intersection, I guess, Newsom and
Well, it's Newsom and Andy Griffith, and then Arlington, which is where the caution light is, and that caution light is there to slow down the traffic approaching the Mount Airy city limits. And that was my concern, because we're trying to expand the greenway, but access seems to be a little bit of a challenge on that end of the city.
Okay, I think those are two locations that are not actually on the bicycle plan, because I don't see any recommendations at either of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when they actually do the bicycle plans or the pedestrian plans, as you saw in the presentation, the consultants actually go through a detailed analysis within the urban areas, and they make recommendations. So I know with the bicycle, you can see more recommendations for bicycles and for pedestrian. For the bicycles, we use the actual current CTPs, and I guess your recommendation, I guess, will be considered for this plan, and it will be added. I guess we'll go through our CTP team, and we'll make some decisions. But thank you for your comment and your recommendation.
Thank you. Your presentation is excellent.
So, Ruben, we've got
a
couple more questions from David Petrie. His question is, once bicycle routes are established, will GPS routes be provided so that these routes can be easily identified using cycling computers or Google Maps? It would be very helpful if NCDOT would use Google Earth. Will these bicycle routes include lanes? I assume, David, you referring to lanes as opposed to expanded shoulders. You're talking about protected or striped.
Yeah,
lanes?
Yeah, this is Dave Petrie. Currently, we have established bike routes in the county. There's the scenic bike route, and as the presenter said, we have the two statewide routes. They exist as the ability to go riding, and from not only from a local perspective, but from a tourism perspective. If I'm a visitor coming to this area and want to go cycling, and I know there are these routes here, it would be very helpful for the tourism community to have detailed GPS routes that can be easily done that you can have on a website download and have that file loaded into your cycling computer or transcribed onto Google Maps so that you can find these routes. Because right now, the current routes, you can't, unless you know them, you really can't find any information on where they are unless you know that the signs exist. So that's to my first question. The second question is these maps we've seen in this presentation that are great from a 30,000 foot view level, but if we really want to provide some meaningful feedback and get good local insight on whether these make sense, it would be nice to have a little bit more fidelity and granularity so that we can see exactly what's being proposed. And I think Google Earth would be a great tool to use that. And then to the final question with the lanes, yeah, in the city has already started establishing some lanes in town. I'm just curious if when these routes are created, will there be dedicated lanes, or as you suggested, just wider road spaces that there's ample shoulder for safety reasons?
Okay. Wow. I guess from the question you mentioned about the GPS, I'm not sure if we're actually tied in that way as of yet. Right now with the CTP 2.0 changes we're going through planning, we're basically going through a transition. And I know in the GPS they have the actual selection of vehicle, transit, bicycle, and walking. That probably would be a good idea to have a transportation plan connected to the GPS. So that is something that our leadership would have to have a discussion about in NCDOT. So I can't really give a definite response to that, but we can get back with you on that.
Hey, Ruben.
And then, yes.
NCDOT does have a statewide bicycle layer that can be laid into GPS systems.
Into the GPS?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, that answers that question. Okay.
Well, it would be good then if that was made available to like the local communities, because like I said, the current existing routes that do exist in, let's say, the Surry County Scenic Bike Route, there's a very poor map that you can download that you can't see where the routes are. And it would just be nice if there was ability to know where these routes exist. I live here, so I know where some of them are. But if I was visiting here, from a tourist standpoint, I wouldn't know where any of these routes are, and the maps and the tools that are currently available just don't help.
So, David, why don't you send me, this is Carter, send me an email stating exactly what you just said at cspradling@ptrc.org, and we'll follow up on the GPS portion and see if we can't find you a good solution there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And David,
And I think
I'll go ahead and answer another part of that. As we talk about the level of detail in the maps here and whether these particular projects will actually include striped lanes or protected lanes, or what these projects ultimately will look like. I believe you described it as a 30,000 foot view, and that is an excellent descriptor. That is what this is intended to be. As these projects get approved and funded by local municipalities and then eventually by the state, that's when we'll get to the point of fleshing out exactly what these facilities look like. This is the portion of the project we're saying there is a need here. This is something that we should plan to have sometime in the future, but this doesn't get into the this is what it's going to look like phase of the planning process.
Okay, that's fair. That's I wasn't aware of that, but that is fair. And I think as we get further along, I know Surry County has a strong cycling community, and I see a couple of my fellow cyclists on this call as well. I'm sure we would have a lot of insight on what makes sense and what doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage you anytime you see anything about transportation planning in your area, make sure you are in that discussion, especially now after this current CTP is adopted. We'll start moving forward in the future with some of these projects, and you really can have a positive say in what that final product ends up looking like.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Go ahead.
Michael,
Your question, David?
Yes. I think you addressed my questions adequately. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael, we are here. I wanted to echo that the consultant Alta is working on the bike plan. And I think the approach is more detailed. And these comments from David, I think we'll also forward them to Alta. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have any comments or questions that they would like to provide before we conclude this session? Okay. Well, again, for anyone that is watching the session online, these items will be available for at least the next 30 days. You're more than welcome to use the polling software and or email me any questions or comments that you have. cspradling@ptrc.org, and we will get answers and record your feedback. Thank you, everyone, for your participation tonight, and we will continue tomorrow evening with our Yadkin County session. Have a great evening.